Welcome back to the 2016 Spring Promotion Tournament where Gambit Gaming are up 1-0 in this best-of-5 game set. And the first game, Crepo, pretty decisive coming in from Gambit, honestly. They turned up and they basically looked super strong. They made MOUs look like a challenger team.
Yeah, it started pretty action-packed there in that little invade down in the bottom where I said Kalista missed an auto attack. Kalista can't really cancel auto attack, therefore I have to get my glasses. Don't have them now, so we'll miss none of the action anymore, but overall, the sentiment of game 1 is Beatsu in that Malphite, and it's just not working out. Gambit did a good job punishing it with the Elise, multiple times diving it, forcing it on farm. Cabochard was then freed up as a resource. He went mid, in addition to Betsy's pressure. Eventually, everything snowballed to the bottom lane that was struggling, so good Gambit in unison, cohesive overall, and I would like to see Beatsu on a carry.
Yeah, me too, Crepo, me too. Okay, getting into these bans. First ban will be Lulu. Last game it was also banned out by Gambit, nothing changing up there. Olaf, literally the same as last game. These teams aren't changing anything.
Yeah, Olaf definitely a ban you have to consider here for Mouse Sports. Gambit saying they really don't care about the Lulu. I liked what Betsy was bringing to the table on Victor, so that perhaps it's wise for Gambit to just again ban out the Azir, force Mouse Sports to pick up the Victor, perhaps see if Ginge can actually play it. His Gangplank had decent success early in the game. It was tie farming slightly under pressure, mostly because his Cannon Barrage was forced to be used defensively instead of offensively. If they can combine some of those globals to actually start snowballing their bot lane further ahead, should Mountain and Cedrion be able to repeat the last game performance with that double poke coming out of Silver Cannon, perhaps the game could play out differently, but Cabochard, as we mentioned before, is the man to watch, and he's definitely putting a lot of pressure. He's leaving his mark on this matchup.
Yeah, also a lot of pressure in terms of bans as well. The Shen comes out as a possible flex, will be taken away from Mouse Sports and Gambit Gaming, as well as the Gangplank being banned out by Mouse, so they don't want to be playing it, and they don't want Cabochard to be on that champion either. There's the Victor ban coming out there, so won't be seeing that this game. Leaves Azir open. What's the last ban going to be from Mouse?
This could be spelling out a very early Azir pickup on Lily, first pick for Gambit Gaming, potentially Mouse Sports. I believe they will ban Fizz here, honestly, because I don't think they can deal with Cabochard Fizz, and they may have an answer for the Azir. It does seem that they didn't really care about Fizz too much, because Elise being banned out, I think that's also a great choice, because Diamond Prox was kind of neutralizing Dan first, then allowing for the dives. If you take that step away, perhaps Dan can actually defend his lanes from being dove and propel Mouse Sports comfortably into the mid game, where their composition could have had more footing.
Yeah, so perhaps taking Diamond off that aggressive early jungler, but he can be just as aggressive on other junglers. We'll see what Gambit pick up as their first priority. As you mentioned, the Azir is up. Cabochard could pick up a priority top laner here. Gangplank's been banned out, so we might see that later on into the draft.
Kalista's available, Braum is available, so there's a lot of picks here, but you have to see how they fit in the puzzle, what you give away. It does look like they're going for the early Azir, because last game Kalista didn't really have the impact of first pick Kalista should have, therefore they switch over. Azir will have the impact because at least it puts Ginge to adapt. His champion that he played in game 1 is now banned out. The champion that traditionally gets picked with the Azir, the Victor, is banned out too. So I have to see what else he can get out of his champion pool. Perhaps an Ahri, an Orianna is something we see very often in these type of scenarios where you just need something safe. Mouseport now can answer. They should steal away the Braum, in my opinion, if you really want to draft very meta heavy, and then leave their counter pick for top lane.
Yeah, but do you steal away a pick that neither team is going to pick up anyway? Looking at Mouse, what are they going to pick up here? Could go for that Kalista. Last time we saw the Maokai being banned out, that is still open for Mouse. They pick up the Ahri and the Kalista, so Kalista comes through, and the Ahri for the mid lane. That's more what I want to see Jinx on. We know this is more of his bread and butter.
That's very interesting, actually, that they, instead of using their first rotation to get priority picks, they get one priority pick, which is the Kalista. But then they're fine hiding the rest of the information and say, okay, you have your mid laner, we will just pick our mid laner. We value a counter pick more than securing one of what they call a strong of OP champs. So quite peculiar, because this is something we don't really see in drafts, both here in the West and over in LCK LPL. People really use that first rotation to get strong power picks. Right now they're hiding it, they're just saying picking the Ahri early, and they're leaving double counter pick for their bot lane and then eventually counter pick for the top lane.
So they will have that in the top lane. That is pretty important for this matchup. Obviously, we've talked so much about how Cabochard and Beansu is going to be such a major factor in this game, as did the Analyst death. So having that potential counter pick could be big for Mouse. There's going to be the Rek'Sai taken away from Dan in this game, along with the Thresh as well for Pepper once again. And now back to Mouse.
Yeah, in that sense, Gambit really don't reveal too much. Rek'Sai, Thresh is very generic. It fits into almost any composition. Gambit can go every direction with this. They don't get counterpicked too hard. I don't think, in my opinion, there's any hard counterpick to any Thresh lane because you can still fit an AD carry in there. Mousesports will have to reveal some champions already, likely going to leave that counterpick in the top lane. So we're expecting here a jungle pickup for Mousesports and the support.
Yeah, and what will Cedrian go to? Last game, he went with the Cannon. That was the change up for Mountain in the bottom lane. And Brahman's still open. Could be a potential pickup here up against that Thresh. And Jint already has his mid laner. So, thinking about the Cannon again, was not terrible. Got the advances in the early game. Was with Sivir last time. And this time with Kalista. Vi is going to be picked up. And again, this is Dan. Once he's taken off the Rek'Sai, he could literally go anywhere.
Very skirmish heavy and pick heavy composition coming out of Mousesports here. If you play against an Azir, you should either have targeted lockdown engage so you can blow him up immediately, or have some form of a flank that can then flank teleport. Think of home guards, maybe even Maokai lock him down, but even then, you know, Emperor's Divide can really split up in these team fights. That's why they're going for the Vi, targeted lockdown, skirmish with the Callistic Cannon. That is an extremely strong lane. It pokes well, it duels well, it deals a lot of damage, has CC. Overall, it's hard to kill the support too. So we might actually see a swap coming out of Gambit here if they really want to survive this laning phase. And then Ahri in the mid lane, very skirmish pick heavy. So we need to see Mousesports snowball ahead though in the early to mid game, because otherwise late game Gambit will have the edge already with this composition.
Well, Gambit took them apart in the early game last time, so it's going to be very difficult for Mouse actually to pick up that advantage, even with these picks. And our thinking about the Fizz was not banned away. Cabochard, very competent on that champion as to why it's been banned out against him 9 times. And Corki will be picked up here for Pinoy.
And now the pressure is on Binsu. He has counter pick advantage over one of the better top laners in the LCS, Cabochard, with a strong champion here that he picked. The Fizz, so much potential coming out of that champion. You can split push, you can eventually later join teamfights as a flank. Gambit's lineup overall fends for themselves very well. Corki Azir, very control heavy, zone control around objectives. Fine can kite incredibly well too. So we need to find something that can make an opening, can make a dent in Gambit's armor, and Fiora could be one of those champions.
Do it. Binsu, definitely a player I would think could pick up Fiora. Thinking about this pick up into Fizz as well. Not sure how that matchup goes. Only seen a little bit of Fiora on these recent patches, but most teams trying to figure that champion out. Is very, very strong. Remember, now it does % true damage and goes for the Malphite.
Yeah,
so,
deny. They need some hardcore engage here, and they're really one-dimensional again in their composition overall. And if they fall behind, Mousesports are very skewed in this game because they have little to none wave clear. Ahri, when she's behind, and she can't really one-shot these waves. She can't really go, for example, an early Luden's build. Then Gambit will have such an easy time sieging down this tower. Very early in the game too, we expect Azir to just push in that matchup over and over. Betsy again will have the pressure to see if Pinoy and Ghost Pepper can fend for themselves. And they might actually be the team to initiate the lane swap this game.
Yeah, very reliant in this early game once again. As you mentioned, we did have that lane swap last time. Does slightly favor Gambit in the end. Have Miles adapted to that? We're about to see maybe some words exchanged from Enero to the rest of the squad. But once again, we do see these compositions come down, and once again, Miles go for this team fight.
But if Mouse get ahead, however, then things can get explosive. So much crowd control effect, so much damage, so much pick potential. This could turn real ugly real quick. So the early game, the first 15 minutes, will tell a lot about this game.
Yeah, as it did with the last game as well. We're about to find out how this one will go down. Crepo, Gambit 1 game up in this series up against Mouse. They really need to secure a win here to even this up to 1-1. Otherwise, a reverse sweep is very difficult. Well, we're about to get into this one. Remember, use those hashtags GMB win or MOU win on Twitter. Tell us what you're thinking, where you think the teams are going to go in this series. Right now, Gambit looking so incredibly strong as we head into Game 2. Mouse are up against it as we head into Game 2 of this best of 5. Heading on to the Rift here. Gambit will be spreading out. Will they try anything in this level 1? Gosu Pepper does have the hook, but looks like we're going to be seeing a fan from Gambit at least, whereas Mouse putting their bottom lane into the top lane and maybe trying to keep some of that information to themselves right now, getting that early vision. Gambit, will they go for it? Not sure just yet.
Mousesports
going up there with Cedrian.
Doing the same thing they did game 1, but with different intentions. This time they're preemptively calling a lane swap from Gambit rather than dodging the Gambit lane. seems. Putting that ward down on top seems to be their strategy. We'll need to see if they actually adapt this if they win this game and it goes into game 3, because it becomes very predictable. Gambit just scouting overall. Defensively, this time I want to see Mouseport at least take necessary precautions should they start on the weak side, so a potential scout from GhostWhoopepper doesn't punish them as hard as it did last game.
GhostWhoopepper and Pinoy still in this bottom lane, do not have the vision on the top lane from Mao, so currently just assuming they could be down there. The ward comes over the wall from Dan, just get more information. Cabashard will be starting off with his jungler of Diamond Procs here to start off the game.
And this could actually be advantageous for Mousesports if they choose to let Dan tank the brunt of the damage, because then Beansu can tank a little bit but go straight to the lane, not have to use his teleport. He will have teleport advantage over Cabashard, which can hopefully make him nullify some of the advantage that Cabashard will have in lane with that offensive summoner on Ignite.
And Pinoy and GhostWhoopepper will be going for these Krugs, and maybe Mountain and Sedrin will be as well. Interested to hear the Crepo, whether they get the seal of approval from you.
Yeah, if this actually ends up in a reswap, obviously right now we are poised to end up in a traditional swap. But a lot of shenanigans possible from Mousesports if they really want to match these lanes eventually. So they will find themselves a little bit surprised that Gambit did opt for the traditional lanes overall, because Ken and Kalista is not a lane that you really like having in the lane swap. You really want to dual 2v2 with that. Taking down these Krugs. Quick fashion, then going top, finding no enemies, because Pinoy will walk into the bot lane. So lane swap coming out. Let's see which one of these teams have mastered the art of EU West lane swapping to the West.
Oh, Gambit showed they were a little bit ahead of Mao's in the last game. See how the rest of this one pans out. Cabashard will be trying to tank up some of these just a little bit before he goes back and teleports to lane. But Beansu and Dan doing the exact same thing on their side of the map. So we're just seeing the AD carries pushing the bottom lanes here. A couple seconds until we really see anything resolve.
Yeah, Gambit actually slightly ahead, pushing quicker. The double jungle went a little quicker. Cabashard peels off as we expected traditionally in a 3v0 lane swap. He will join and get the wave bounce back to him. Instead we see Beansu and Dan. No, they're not going for the double jungle, so Beansu eventually does peel off. But he's, again, a step behind. Slower than Gambit Gaming, so Gambit can really tear this tower apart. Let's see how quick that wave can bounce, because Beansu can't afford to fall behind again against Cabashard. Really, not especially since we have this summoner mismatch as well. These lanes equal out with them ever against each other, and there's a level advantage in addition to an aggressive summoner, then Beansu will be in trouble.
Yeah, pretty dead Mao fight, but he's going to head into this top lane. Now only start waiting on this turret. Bottom lane, Gambit have already made short work of this. Is down to around 40%, so they should be getting this. Another wave is now coming in, so next push should be enough to take down this turret. In the top lane, only just now getting it to 50%, around about the same time. Just have the wave coming in now.
Yeah, Mousesports pushed the first initial few waves slower, but then obviously had a bigger stack. That's why their turret is going down a lot quicker. As Gambit, they have to slow down. Gambit seems to actually have failed the bounce. That's why they're pinging the wave. Looks like they're going... No, okay. Read that wrong from the minimap. I thought they failed it, and they pinged the wave and said, okay guys, we have to really quickly kill this wave. Looks like they did get the bounce perfect. Same for Mousesports, so very, very standard start overall. Wave gets bounced, Beansu gonna pick this up and just arm back into this game.
Yeah, Beansu again getting all that gold from the initial turret. Last game did the same. Did not do all that much for him, honestly, as we got through the game. Cabashard just kind of got big and ran all over Mao. So needs to stop that from happening once again. He's already ahead in farm, but not too much. Sedju now coming into the bottom lane. Has been sighted out by that ward, placed in advance by Gambit. Heading into this bottom lane now. Mid lane, again. First time mentioning this lane as lane swaps, all about the side lanes and the junglers. Mid lane, just carry on as normal.
Cabashard did something really smart here, because he saw both AD carry and support heading his way. Instead of keeping the lane frozen, he just takes as much CS as he can before they arrive, essentially pushing the wave backwards. But he knows if Sedju and the Mountain really want to pick up the farm, they will end up pushing the lane backwards anyway. So he just wants to get as much experience safely as he can. A good adaptation there. Now Beansu sniffing out how many people he's actually playing against. GhostWhoopepper goes from behind, walks in the mini wave. It's a good attempt to punish Beansu for farming, but this time he's careful enough. He's zone off the farm, however, 2v1. Cabashard knows that the same thing is going to happen to him, so he initiates the lane swap yet again. Probably going to see the Gambit bot lane push in and go down the bottom lane. They do sacrifice Dragon Pressure for this.
And Mouse will happily pick up that first one. As we headed into playoffs, they had secured 80% of the first Dragons out of Challenger. And definitely prioritize those as we head into the finals as well. But this one will be going over to Mouse.
Look at how 4 members from the Gambit lineup are migrating to the top lane. This is the textbook reply to sacrificing the bottom part of the map and giving away the dragon to get more CS, more farm, and more experience overall. Binsu is not picking up anything. Cabochard is already in position to again let this wave bounce back from the tower if he so chooses to, or just straight up trade the tower for Dragon. Mousesports a bit of a step behind. They're now pushing down the bot lane tower. So, in essence, people will get equal amounts of towers, but there will be more experience and more pressure, more vision on the side of Cabochard, and that is advantageous for Gambit overall.
Yeah, now it's going to take a little while to push in this one. Has gone back, picked up the Vamp Scepter. Hasn't revealed all that much about these builds, honestly. Kind of to be expected. That will be going to Bilgewater Cutlass. Most likely, and this bottom tower will be going down, as you mentioned, a little bit later from Mouse.
Yeah, while Cabochard gets ahead, obviously they put some pressure on Pinoy. He falls behind, but he's playing a utility AD carry in Corki. His job is mainly clearing waves and staying relevant in the game. They don't expect him to hard carry. Not this Gambit in this iteration in terms of what they want out of each member, especially since Betsy is doing such a phenomenal job in the mid lane. He is now up 16 CS already, in addition to having the pressure on Ginge. So Ginge is being pressured very hard in the mid lane already, both in terms of champion pool in the draft. His Gangplank from game 1 was banned out, Victor was banned out, and Azir was first pick. But Betsy is also making that work. The counter pick that Ginge brought to the table is actually losing this matchup. So that shows that Gambit have done their research and are pressuring the right points in the Mouse lineup.
Yeah, and we also had questions over Betsy as well. How much farm priority is he going to get? How many resources are they going to give to him? And honestly, haven't really needed to see that because he's been getting his own resources in the mid lane, just been farming up and just generally doing well in these team fights. But if we get to that point, it'll still be an interesting thing to look at. Diamondprox heading into his top lane, has walked straight over a ward, but we'll look for this gank regardless. Only level 5 up against level 4 Binsu. Won't have his ultimate just yet, still has the flash. Puts down a little bit of harass, but pressure more than anything.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if he can even commit to a kill here. The thing that matters is that Binsu is being poked out, zoned off the CS. Obviously, didn't really take all too much damage there, but look at that. He's at the other side of the map. Because the 2v2 is weaker on the side of Mouse, especially perhaps the only way to win is if Binsu gets level 6 and you can chain these ultis together for one target lockdown. But again, Gambit, knowing that the 2v2 is strong on the top lane, they abuse that by sending Diamondprox top, and they slowly get a lead on Cabochard here, and look at that lead, double the CS already, 40 CS to 20 on Cabochard versus Bean. So look at the bot lane, that CS is nicely evening out because it's just incredibly hard to punish a Corki, especially when he is about to hit level 6 and he gets rockets available. Then he can pretty much get 70% of every wave unless you really invest 2 people to zone him off, and that becomes too resource heavy for Mousesports to do.
Yeah, very difficult to play against. Dan turning again into the opposing jungle, looking to take something away. Has just seen Diamondprox, or has not seen Diamondprox, so doesn't quite know where he is just yet. Has the Raptor buff, so we'll have that next time he passes over a ward. Mountain heading into the middle lane. What are they setting up here? As
long Dan is not level 6, there's absolutely nothing you can do against Betsy. The Azir can just shuffle his way out of there. Betsy's smart enough of a player to realize what is going on. You see how Ghost Pepper is also peeling away from the bot lane, leaving Pinoy alone. He knows he's no longer needed to help Pinoy farm. If anything, he'll just be stealing experience away from Pinoy. He's just gonna add some safety pressure in mid lane. Betsy's farming comfortably. And Mouse, they're still looking for their first pick. This very skirmish-heavy lineup.
I've yet to see any action just yet in this game. Diamondprox going over to his red buff, just playing it passive until we see maybe the next dragon. Something for these teams to fight over, but right now just passive farming. Ghost Pepper walking through, roaming around, taking away these wards, just gradually getting a little bit more vision. Taking that one out from Mount was secured the crab. Have gone back, picked up a couple more items as well. Mid lane Betsy just building towards his Nash's Tooth. Pretty standard for Azir. Rylai's also one of those items Azir likes to pick up, maybe second or third. And Jinx picked up the Phoenix Codex. Lots of things that could build into.
Yeah, Jinx really being pressured here overall. That charm, the way it came out, really spells out the way this matchup has been going. Betsy comfortably pushes him overall with multiple soldiers being put in. Gets the wave for almost no resources, whereas Jinx has to continuously commit mana to clear this wave. And then his charms become very telegraphed. Now we see Diamondprox in mid lane, ready for a counter gang.
Well, there's the ultimate from Dan. We'll be able to get past the ultimate from Betsy, but he'll just go down instead. Split off from his team. Bot lane action has started as Binsu comes into the fray. Pops his ultimate, gets the first kill onto Gosu. Actually went to Mountain this one. Pinoy being chased after. Just land the auto attack, getting the extra damage from Sentinel. But Cabochard into the action as well. And pops the ultimate, takes down the Malphite. Diamond now coming into the fight. Mountain and Sejuan trying to back up. There's a flash coming coming in from Betsy, looking to follow after with these soldiers with the Conquering Sand. Cabashot coming with a flank as well, takes the tower shot, reconsiders the tower dive, and overall, that was a bunch of action, but a 2-for-1 overall in this game.
Yeah, skirmish in the mid lane, skirmish in the bot lane, but mousesports fighting on two fronts at once, and that predictability of this Vibe pick, because he couldn't go top to get Cabashot, there's no way he's gonna get that. Bot lane was already fighting. It was very obvious that once Dan hit 6 that he was going to try and go for display to keep Jinx in the game. Diamondprox was lurking in the same brush that he's lurking right now, where he's going on Jinx aggressively with the backup of Gosu Pepper. Probably not going to get too much out of this. If he can close the gap, perhaps we can chain a hook.
Maybe. I mean, Jinx is completely out of mana, has to flash away, burns that summoner, and only had Gosu there as well, so yeah, Diamond will take that one to the bank.
And then we saw Cabashot obviously teleport into the mid lane, whereas Beansu opted to help in the fight in the bot lane, and I think it was too greedy from Mouse to go for these both plays, and a really good read from Gambit, counter-ganking that mid lane play. Diamondprox was ready for this. Betsy knocked Dan into the tower, he then had to walk away, couldn't really deal any damage to Betsy, there was no follow-up charm to really lock him down immediately. Yeah, good play by Gambit. They find themselves 2-1 in the lead right now, and in addition to that, they have the map pressure. And that is something, if you watched the last game and you're wondering, Dan finds Gosu Pepper. Alright.
And Dan goes.
Let me talk, boys. If you're wondering why the last game, even though the gold was even, or relatively even, why it looked, or why we kept saying why that Gambit was winning, is because they had all the information, they were making proactive plays, whereas Mouse was forced to react. Games tend to just stay relatively even in terms of gold, but what you don't track is the experience and just how much information teams get to play with. In addition to that, Gambit had the first 2 dragons as well. That is something you don't really see in the gold values necessarily. Mouse looking up to actually do the same thing this game, picking up 2 dragons, but we might actually see a reaction fight here. Diamondprox is ready to go in for potential steal.
Well, there's the Ren stacks, and it's just going to be a fuss bomb over the wall, just a kind of half-hearted attempt at a steal. But Cabashot was off in the top lane and he didn't have teleport, so Gambit weren't looking for anything more than that.
Yeah, and Dan got chunked to 20%, so this leaves mid lane open for Azir and Corki. Really good siege champions overall. Corki can poke, Azir can poke you out and take the tower if there's anybody in the lane. But there literally wasn't anybody left. Mouse committed so hard for this dragon, something we expected them to do in this series. And meanwhile in the top lane, Cabashot is freezing, and there's no punish from mousesports.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if it's worth it though for Mouse, because we mentioned so hard about the first 15 minutes being so important for both of these teams. Gambit have built up the gold advantage coming in from these towers, as well as the map pressure, and the dragons have only really mattered for Mouse once they've hit those 5 dragons. That's when they really hit the go button, but apart from that, they basically didn't do anything, and if they fall behind early game because of the gold, then Gambit's is going to roll over.
Even if there were 2 dragons in that bit, it still wouldn't have been worth it because Cabashot,
yeah,
he's showing no intention to slow down this freeze at all. He's at 93 CS right now. This will likely prompt a dive from mousesports in the mid lane though. How many kills can they get out of this?
Well, Beansu with the ultimate goes onto Betsy. He'll be instantly exploded. So will Gosu Pepper. Picks up those 2 kills in the middle lane, and they'll convert this into the tower.
This is what I like to see. Zero hesitation. If you're getting frozen in the top lane, you're playing 4v5 with a hard engaged Malphite, you can't afford to hesitate. Just pop somebody immediately, try and predict them before they have flash, or if they don't have flash, blow them up. Good reaction there. Flash, unstoppable force from Beansu, immediate follow-up from Dan. That's the way you need to play. You can't give Gambit the map 4v5. You need to punish that freeze, either by moving into the top lane and pushing it out, or straight up diving mid. So greedy from Gambit, trying to get too much, trying to hold mid tower 4v5, and letting Cabashot freeze with such a big CS lead overall. A bit too much, but overall Gambit, even after that play, is still ahead. 900 gold.
Still ahead, and 69% over to Gambit in the fan vote. But Mal's right here. Still, that was a proactive play. They took advantage of a greedy play from Gambit, so they still have Fangs yet. Haven't been dueled into this series in Game 2.
Gambit is a false sense of superiority because they picked up a couple of kills and an objective that Gambit was defending. Now there is no objective for Gambit to really panic around to defend at all, so that helps them in that regard. And mostly, that top lane isn't going to even out. 7.5 on Beansu, 9.5 on Cabashot, 2 full levels ahead. In addition that he's just now moving bottom. Look at the size of that wave that he's about to pick up. Pinoy is gladly sacrificing that for him, because Pinoy is still relatively even against the Kalista. He picked up the Triforce, he hit a spike, he can leave the farm to his other 2 carries and just fulfill that utility role that Gambit requires of him.
Also because of how long Beansu's been spending with his team versus how long Cabashot's been in the side lane farming. 111 farm to 52, literally doubling the CS from Beansu is honestly crippling at this point. Picked up the Nash's Tooth. This is an adaptation, of course. Fizz was changed, looking towards more AP builds and picking up the Sheen as well, so going for that one. And also against Binsu, he's going to itemize armor, and what are you going to do against Magic? Damage, not a whole lot, your mark.
Look at that zone as well. One soldier gets put up soon, a second one will foul. A couple of hits here on the tower in the mid lane. Teleport behind though. Look for Binsu coming in.
Oh, both of the top laners now coming into this fight. Not quite a fight just yet as the Sun Disc is up. Gosu Pepper finds Binsu with the hug into the Chum the Waters. Binsu is pretty dead. Get Panoid.
Yeah, and this flank maneuver works against most lineups, but not against lineups that have a Zir in them. They just put up the Sun Disc tower and suddenly it's build your own base. Suddenly you're sieging around with the ruins of your tier 1 tower, and a lot of teams forget about that. Good punish of the flank, good awareness. Gambit knew exactly what was going on. Pepper turns around, lanterns out as he's throwing the hook, full confidence that he was going to hit it. And again, good adaptation. They removed the one hardcore engage component from Mousesports on Binsu. There's one left on Dan, but there's not enough follow-up damage, especially since Ari had to build Morella Nomicon to keep the wave clear alive. No Needless large run item like Prudence that can pop. The hook goes on Mountain, he has to be pulled out.
This time it was onto Mountain, who is pulled to safety. Betsy taking the brunt of the damage. Jin's coming in over the wall, will be juked away with the shifting sands in from Betsy, but he's still trying to get away, and Cedrian is on the hunt, but another fantastic hook coming in from Gosu Pepper secures that kill onto Cedrian before he can clean up that fight, and that turns into a 2-0 again over to Gambit.
That was a little greedy from Gambit though, a little overstepping their boundaries. That fight could have gone different and ugly if Jin's procced that Q, got that kill, maybe got another kill in there. That was very close overall. Hooking the support against Kalista and committing for it is a bit of a mistake. And Gambit forgot about Fate's Call there, but good play, well played, carried out. Low HP, let's watch that again. They're sieging the tower, which is great, but once the hook connects on cannon, you really have to want to get out of there because you know Fate's Call is going to come. Everybody commits for this cannon and they forget about the Fate's Call. Then Betsy gets kind of engaged on, he doesn't get anything. Look at Jinx here, that Q should always hit. You should always be able to kill Betsy there, and then the fight could have looked a lot different. Good follow hook by Pepper again. He finds Binsu here. Binsu looking a little lost. That's not where you want to be, mate.
This is not a replay, this is live. Binsu once again getting caught out here. And that did go over to Gosu this time around, so more gold in his back pocket. But that's another 20 seconds where there's no hard engage in from Mouse.
Yeah, and this was our featured matchup. Kabashard into Binsu, and it couldn't be any more one-sided right now. 3-0-0 into 0-3 on Binsu. Kabashard 139 CS into 71. Again, still doubling the CS lead as the game progresses. And had an experience too, and this Malphite, when it falls behind, it becomes so predictable, so easy to play against it, because all you have to fear is a knock-up, and then it even has to be a well-timed one because there's no damage attached to it. It's literally empty CC.
Yeah, have to rely on the team after that one. And Mouse not able to get this ward, placing down the pink wards in less optimal places just to try and scrape back some vision. Now this Dragon is going to maybe be contested by Mouse. They're going to be seen in on the entry route, and Gosu Pepper's already at the side, lands the flay, but he may go down. That's a charm landing in with a pierce as well from Cedrian. Picks up the kill, but the Dragon has already gone over to Gambit.
There goes to Pepper defending that brush, gets warded, gets caught out. Could have played a little more careful, but in the end, Gambit secured what they came for. That Dragon, denying it from Mousesports. That top lane wave is pushing in, and that's the way you want to beat compositions that really like grouping. And for picks, you just really use your side lanes to your advantage. You reveal some of them, and then you can make a pick in return. Same way for Mousesports. If they want to make picks, they need to start using their side wave for slow pushing, and then freeing up those members and trying to invade deep wards and find where Gambit's going to go before Gambit really knows it themselves, predict the movements, and pick them off in the jungle. But that's being very hard for Mousesports because Gambit has a lot better vision control than usual. They're finally working together. Their vision has always so far has had a purpose. So Gambit in control of this game. Cedric now trying to clean up this farm here, but no renowns yet, so that's going to take a while.
Kabashard heading up there as well, along with Gosu Pepper. Mid lane, Jin's taking so much damage just from the poke from Betsy and Pinoy. That last rocket just landing, another one almost connecting as well as the minion wave will be eliminated. Just poking away this turret. This will be going down very soon. Jins can't really defend here. Just doesn't have the wave clear and doesn't have the health either.
Binsu is flanking though, and no ward has spotted him, so Gambit could overreach, but the tower falls before he gets in range, and now they can simply rotate to the top lane. This siege combination of Corki and Azir is so potent, and you see it. They poke out Jins, now they move out of the top lane. Cedric sees them coming, but there's nothing he can do. There's no support, and Mouse are slowly and surely crumbling apart.
This is exactly what we said. If Mouse's composition falls behind, then they basically have no wave clear, and Gambit has wave clear and siege, and they're going to take your turrets, which is happening right now. Now Mouse are able to take away the minion waves, but Gambit will just back off.
And the comeback mechanic from this Mouse lineup is very one-dimensional. It's a wombo combo team fight where you annihilate one target with the Vi ultimate, in addition to Binsu knocking a couple of members up, preferably coming in a flanking position. For all that to work out, Gambit will have to screw up massively, and even then, Mouse, they need to capitalize with a Baron or something. They need something to stop the bleeding, to stop the sieging, to be able to siege themselves. Getting a Baron at this point against this Gambit lineup is going to be incredibly hard.
Gambit tried to sneak that Baron last game, and everything just went well for them, basically. Mouse, it's going to be hard for them to come back into this game. And definitely this series as well. If they lose this one, they'll be 2 games down. They'll have to win 3 on the bounce. We've seen from Cloud9 it's possible, but not many other teams are able to achieve that feat. Mouse haven't shown anything phenomenal so far in this series. But there's still time. Jint's taking away this blue buff right now. Has picked up the needlessly large rod and the home guard, so just hunkering down in their base.
Very, very clear for Gambit who has the farm priority. It is Cabochard number 1, Betsy 2nd, and Pinoy is a very far and distinctively placed 3rd place. He has to yield so much side lane farm because all they expect for him to do is right now is put some pressure with rockets, join with the team, use that Triforce Spike in the mid-game to get a big enough gold advantage, to get global gold, to make up for the farm that he loses. It's working well for Gambit overall though. Cabochard and Betsy on the Azir and the Fizz respectively should have enough damage on their own to really carry this fight in a double threat coming out of them. Additional damage from Corki. Now Bitsu gets caught again, he's put in the box. It's very predictable now, this fight.
Well, this time the team is there to back him up, and Gosu Pepper has been called out. Pinoy comes in from the sidelines, and Betsy throws out the Emperor's Divide, but Binsu's already over along with the rest of the Mouse lineup. They'll be taking out Pinoy. They only lose Sedrin for that privilege. Jint comes in with the aggressive E, but Cabochard's there to wipe up the mess. Takes him down, takes Mountain out as well. Only Dan is alive, and Gosu Pepper just needs to kite him down, as Cabochard and Dan Prox will be able to take him out. Takes the Fresh Express, and that's the quadra kill coming in for Cabo.
Quadra kill for Cabochard overall, and this fight took place in full vision of Gambit, and it still kind of went the best way it could for Mouseport. I think Gambit got a little over-eager, found themselves caught with their pants down, but then if you don't use any of that CC to take down both Fizz and Azir, one of them will clean up the fight. He will see it again. They engage on Beans too, that's fine. He's holding his crowd control. They zone out the remaining members. Cabochard is TPing him on top, and the fight is kind of migrating away from him. So while it looks very beneficial overall for the Mousesports lineup, Cabochard and Diamond Fox make quick work out of Sedrin over here, and then Mousesports think they're winning this fight, but they've used all their resources. This is a repeat from last game. Once all their spells have been down, nobody has the tools to really deal with Cabochard. He was pretty low there, but overall, still very calculated in his approach, and he gets a quadra kill. So now Cabochard on the Fizz, Betsy on the Azir, as we see Mountain being dropped again. Testament to the good vision control from Gambit overall. Those 2 carries can really take the series home.
And it's a pretty sad state of affairs when you're saying that a 4 for 2 and a quadra kill for Cabochard is the best that team might could have gone for Mouse. And that's ultimately what the position they're in right now. That was Mountain being picked off as Gambit was attempting to start the Baron, and he was trying to ward. And this literally happened to your support. Jins will go down. Sedrin trying to kite away, but he's not going to be too successful. Cabochard takes him out, drops very low himself. Dan now being chased down. Dan Prox will tag him with the Prey Seeker, but doesn't get the kill there.
The problem for Mouseport at this point in the game, if you run this lineup and you get behind in the early game, there is no other choice than to face check. You have to find a way to get more wards in. Unless you're buying 3 Scrying Orbs, perhaps you can put a band-aid on this problem, but you have to face it and hope that Gosu Pepper misses his hooks. If Gosu Pepper plays on his highest level, he is not going to miss very many hooks. So overall, this is, again, only bad options and bad decisions are left for Mouseport, so they have to choose the least of their problems and try and make their way in there. Otherwise, Gambit get the Baron, and the game is incredibly over because they have 0 wave clear as is against Baroned up minions. They're just going to waltz in and take the damage, especially if you look at Betsy with that Rylescu's Scepter finish. The amount of zone control that's coming out of that Azir is just incredible, which is why it is considered a first pick priority in many of the LPL and LCK games overall. We haven't really seen that much some series in Europe because some mid laners just don't really master that Azir, but looking at Worlds coming up, if you don't play that champion to the full benefit of it, you may find yourself in trouble.
Yeah. Unfortunately, band-aids do not fix bullet holes, Crepo, but Binsu heading into this bot lane with his team, potentially looking for a pick that would also help out the Fnatic Death Bush. Can they make it
making
work?
a pick on your side of the map.
It's like battleships. It's like, we'll choose this random brush. Maybe someone will come around. Hey, it worked! Gosu's there, but he gets the knockback. He gets the ultimate as well. Prox now comes into this fight, but he's so tanky, he just won't die. Cabashon, the Fizz comes into the fight. Beansu gets blasted away by the Emperor's Divide, and Jitz tries to escape, but Eddie says, you're not going anywhere, and neither is Dan as he gets taken down. 1-0, but surely this Ari will go down as well. Goes into the bush, but that's the double kill coming out. Cabashon dropping low, but he'll be flopping up, flopping down, and Cabashon will escape barely with his life.
And meanwhile, in the mid lane, the janitor of this Gambit lineup, Pinoy, with the Baron buff saying, guys, you guys can fight. I'm taking this tower. Tower goes into half HP, but overall, yeah, very, very confident Gambit lineup. GhostPepper hasn't really missed too many hooks overall, and if he did, we're probably flashed out. So really good game sense there to turn that around. Gambit knows they're this far ahead. They were playing, you call it battleships, or the Hail Mary, call it what you want. Mousesports were very far behind, looking for a pick on their side of the map. When teams start looking for picks on their side of the map, you know something is desperately wrong, and it becomes very predictable too. Gambit kind of like deduced that they would be somewhere in that area. Proceeded with caution, Flay on the Vikyu as well, so yeah, completely outplayed here by this Gambit lineup.
Yeah, everyone is just playing to the best ability right now on Gambit, as well as working incredibly well as a team. 26 minutes into the game, they take the first inhibitor away from MOUs. They have 7 towers over them, up against 3. They have that dragon. That's pretty much all they need right now because of the percent AD and AP it gives. That's the most important one, all the way up until 5, really. And MOUs also, more importantly, denies them from getting those 5 stacks. Just looking good in this game, Crepo. Gambit, can he close out this series in 3-0? It's looking more than likely.
More than likely, unless we see some drastic pick and ban adaptation, mostly on Beansu and Dan. They really need to pick a stronger 2v2 because this guy right here on your screen, Cabashard, he got propelled into a comfortable position in this game on champions that he likes playing, that he performed well on in the summer split, and Mousesports is not doing anything to stop him. They're lane swapping, but they're lane swapping so poorly that consistently Cabashard gets more CS, more resources to play with. Just one man you really don't want to give more items. It is that Cabashard on Gambit game.
Yeah, well, we're currently finding out why Fizz is usually banned out against him, because he's 8-0-3 and killing everyone in this game. Pinoy trying to take down this turret, just chipping away at it. All the chip damage will count. Dan charging up the Vault Breaker. They're going to have to go for this engage. Mal's jump in, and Prox will be knocked up, but he's so tanky. Beansu comes in for the re-engage onto Betsy, and Pinoy almost goes into the Azir turret. And now Jinx trying to put the damage onto Gosu, but he's just going to have to let Malphite die. Cabashard now coming into this fight. Urchin Strike into the Mist ultimate, into the Zonias.
And then he, acrobats his way to the land. Cabashard with the PM here. In all that fight, Cabashard was untouched. He had, as he displayed there for all of us, ulti still available, didn't need it. Sonya still available, didn't need it. Playful and Trickster still available, didn't need it. So overall, Gambit comfortably winning these team fights. That's another inhibitor down. Just gonna base, make it 3, and then just set up for the 3rd game of this series overall. Mousesports are not impossible to come back. They need a couple of fantastic team fights, and some Gambit members really, really sleeping on the job. But looking at game 3, I want to see more comfort picks, honestly. You're not outmatching them strategically. You're not out-picking them. I don't think you can shut down Cabashard in terms of picks. So my advice for Mousesports, or something I would like to see, is try to eliminate Betsy from having the definitive push lane, because that frees up Prox. It's a chain of events. Betsy's always pushing, which means he's always available to back up Prox first. Then Prox has the freedom to play in the enemy jungle where he wants. He will always choose to play near Cabashard. That chain you can break up by stopping Betsy from getting his hands on the Victor or the Azir, picking the preferable push champion on your mid laner Ginge, and then trying to get a lead that way, and then put Beansu on some skirmisher. Fiora, Aurelia, give him all the farm you possibly can, and then pray that he can outplay Cabashard somehow. Otherwise, we might see a quick repeat of the first 2 games.
Definitely agree with picking more comfort picks, but we did see a Rek'Sai in game 1 for Dan and still didn't go all that well. But as you mentioned, chain of events, if they can shut it down at its source, then maybe they have a chance. Beansu, I still want to see him on the carry. I still want him to show what he showed us in Challenger, because right now he's just trying to shut down Cabashard by virtue of just standing in front of him, but that's not working for the team. We've seen that. He's going to try and engage once again. The ultimate doesn't even hit anybody. Fate's Call will save Mountain for now. but Dan jumps into the back line. He'll be going down. So will Binsu with the re-engage. Mountain will try to be zoning away with his ultimate, but all it's really doing is delaying the inevitable. That's 1 kill, that's 2 kills, that's 4 kills. That's a double kill going over to Cabashot, and Gambit are coming in for the kill.
It's a joy to watch GoSuPepper on thrashing these fights because he's constantly flashing and changing the direction of his hooks here as we see him get ready to take the final hit on this Nexus. And Gambit Gaming 2-0 up against Mouseport here. Ace to close it off, and quick 3-0 to sweep.
Another dominating victory coming in from Gambit. 2-0 over Mousesports in this best of 5. This is very quickly looking like it will be the 3-0 sweep.
However, I've said that before, reverse sweeps have happened.
Oh yeah.
So everything is possible here, but Mousesports, yeah, those guys, they'll have to change a lot here. Can't afford to keep picking this Malphite. Binsu, if you can hear me, pick Fiora.
Crapper for Binsu. Yeah.
Please. Studio is rather empty, so perhaps he can actually hear me. But
he's off in the distance.
Echo top lane is also viable. Pick anything really, just not the Malphite anymore. It's not working out.
Yeah, you can't just sit in front of Binsu and be like, okay, I'm gonna go even, because he hasn't gone even. In this game, we saw him have double the farm over Binsu. Last game, just got destroyed.
But it's impossible to go even, because even if you mirror the lane swap, the 3v0, the weight plays out and he bounces the wave. He roughly goes somewhat even in the early stages of the game, but then Mousesports is like, hey Binsu, help us take this dragon. So that's another 6 to 10 CS gone with the pressure, vision control in the top lane. And then Dan plays on the opposite side of the map as the top lane. Tyronproc says, well, I'm just going to play around my top laner. I'm confident that my bot lane can survive. And suddenly, Binsu is playing 2v1 with the Malphite. Yeah, you're just going to get zoned off the farm. Eventually, Cabashot could put up a freeze. Even if his team is getting dove 4v1 or 4v5 in the middle, and he doesn't care, he's still freezing, because he knows that he can just single-handedly late game carry that fight. And he did. 10-0-4, he finished off the game. Didn't even need half his spells to win most of the fight, so overall, convincing victory from Gambit.
Convincing, and we just need to see Mouse go back to comfort picks, go with what worked before, and they are still doing simple strategies. It's not like they're trying anything crazy, just being outclassed in what they're trying to do as a response to what Gambit are doing. But at the same time, Gambit are looking so good. Like, they are not looking like a relegation team. They're looking at a team that could even go mid of the table in LCS, and it's difficult for Mouse. But it can still work, it can still happen. 3-2, the dream. But we need to take a quick break. But in a few minutes, we'll be returning to the Rift, see if Mousesports can make their stand against Gambit Gaming.
The best fans are the Irish fans.
Oh yeah.
Never forget. We love you, Betsy. We
oh
do.
yeah.
We
I saw
love
the
you.
video.
It was so good. Oh, Betsy, we love you.
Dive from Mousesports in the mid lane though. How many kills can they get out of this?
Well, Binsu with the ultimate goes on to Betsy. He'll be instantly exploded. So will GoSuPepper.
Can we fight that?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, there's so
maybe
low.
not. You're gonna be. I got hook on Vi. Kill Vi. 15 in. Okay, kill Vi after. I need assistance! I'm coming. Give it to her. Give it to her.
One?
Yeah, 1-1. Can you play or some shit? No mana.
Quadra!
He's so tanky, he just won't die. Cabashot, the Fizz comes into the fight. Binsu gets blasted away by the Emperor's Divide. Another dominating victory coming in from Gambit. 2-0